plays on stage, preferably Broadway. I just finished writing my first full-length musical, well, first draft, and oh, and and I hope to have a reading within the next few months or so.
My name is Ed. Let me take a different tack. I'm a former marathon runner, and I've never known a marathon runner not to be self-deprecating. But my current goal in life is to live long enough to retire, and the estimated date is September 30th of this year. And I love my grandchildren. I rarely ever come to a Mensa event, but this one looks interesting, so I'm here. I'm an alien.
Alien. Hi, my name is Kathy, and I'm a retired attorney from the Sport Authority, and now I'm deciding what I'm going to do with my life. So this is really right up my alley, and I'm not in Mensa. I'm just a guest, so I'm with you. That's it.
Hi, my name is Alex. I come from China, and my Chinese name is Shengqi. I recently graduated from Columbia, and the reason I joined Mensa is my dive master asked me whether I'm a Mensa member last winter, so I take the test this spring, and this is my second Mensa event. Thanks.
And you, sir?
I'm Bill. I'm retired finally. That was my goal in life.
Good.
And I like movies, good and bad. And some people say I make too many puns. And I come to this because I try to get to Alamosa. Maybe we should show solidarity to my fellow Mensans.
Cool. Awesome. you all know deep down what you need to be doing with your life, whatever your age, whatever your situation. I want to encourage you to, as Anton said, get off your ass and do what you know you should be doing. And that's something that you could be doing tonight because you need to call somebody that you've been lazy about calling, or it could be doing something that's going to take 7 years to do, like becoming a doctor. And I just heard on the news some woman at 62, she decided to go to law school, she graduated at 69, she's a practicing doctor in a family practice now. And I think, hey, that's not an inspiration. What is it? Did I say law school?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Med school. She finished med school, and now she's a doctor. I think that's an inspiration to us all, because all of us, what our age, or whatever our situation, we're thinking, it's too late. I can't do it now. Whatever. My physical situation, my mental situation, my age, my looks, shut up. That's what you got to tell yourself. Shut up. Because one of the greatest quotes is the people who say it's impossible are being passed by the people who believe it is. And if you're one of the people who says it's impossible, I salute you. You're never going to see any of your dreams come true. And if you are one of those people who says, I'm going to figure out a way, for instance, go to the moon, 200 years ago, that's a pretty stupid thing for anyone to think that's ever going to happen, but it did. And now we think like, oh, sending a rocket up into space, big whoopie did. So,
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I think, as Phil said, a lot of these aphorisms or positive speaking things, they're great, and everyone understands them on a simple level. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But how many people actually do something? How many people actually venture? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yes, do. And I'm sure many of you all do. I have to speak with generalities here. Of course, there are situations, exceptions, but take the good stuff that I say, throw out the stuff that doesn't apply to you. So, Anton asked me, well, what do you want to speak about? And I was like, oh, wow, okay, it's an interesting group. I've never spoken to Mensa before. And I decided, because, when I do the things at SAG or after, I would often do things on show business, how to produce projects, how to networking, marketing. And I thought, let me do something that's more generic that would apply to anybody. So what we're going to talk about today is something called break diving. And what break diving is, I don't have any pens, but if you guys have pens or if you can remember, I have some blanks there that you can fill in. And what break diving is something I just came up with. It's called, and I define it as the lost art of finding and creating opportunity. And I think that is something that people have lost in the last 50 years. Everyone, because of the internet, because of the text messaging, because of society, everyone just expects things to just be given to them. I want it, I want it, I want it. And if I don't have it right this second, well, then something's wrong and I'm moving on to the next thing. And I think that's just a shame, because the great things in life happen because you take the time and energy to devote to it. Whether it's playing the piano or learning a foreign language or going to school, getting a degree, we all know that sometimes you have to plan long term. But people don't do it anymore. And I want you to become a break diver. From this point forward, you are constantly thinking, how can I dive in to the water that no one else wants to dive in because they're waiting for the opportunities to come to the surface. I want you to be the one who says, I'm not going to wait around. I'm going to dive into those shark-infested waters and find what I need down there and bring it up. Meanwhile, everyone else up here is criticizing you, saying, you're going to jump in the water? What are you talking about? You're never going to survive. You're going to die. The shark is going to eat you. It's cold. Well, there's nothing down there. And you say, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway because I got faith. I believe in myself. I believe in my dream. I believe it's something that I can accomplish. So, I didn't finish before. That's just the introduction to what we'll be talking about. So this right here, the blank, the lost art of finding and creating opportunity. And the reason why I put finding and creating, just so you know, is I think they're two different things. Sometimes you can find opportunities just by looking for them. A lot of times, though, they are not there. And you have to create them yourself. And it sucks. And it's difficult. And it's maddening. And it's frustrating. But you have to ask yourself, you're right. It wasn't important enough for me to be on time. Why did you fail that job interview? You could say, oh, because he didn't like me. Oh, because I this. No, it wasn't important enough to you. If it were important enough to you, you would have figured things out. You would have planned for it. You would have not taken no for an answer. A lot of us give up on things, and that's okay. If what you're giving up on is truly not important. And if you give up, then the ultimate answer is the struggle is not important enough to me. And again, that's fine. You make that decision, but don't you dare give any other excuse except, so why aren't you pursuing acting anymore? Why did you quit college? The answer is, it wasn't important enough to me. I wanted to do something else and study and arrive on time and wake up early, etc., etc. So this question, why, honestly, like this alone could be this is the answer to all of your problems. If you just be honest with yourself and asking why. Why what? Why is it important that I do this? So anything that you purportedly tell yourself or tell others that you want to do, you have to ask yourself, why is it important that I do this? I think is there a chair there or no? Yeah, okay, great. Why do I want to do this? Why is it important that I succeed? And your answer better be so amazingly strong and grounded and amazing that you will never give up until you get there. That you will be creative and be a great diver and find or create those solutions. Right? It kills me again. Like I will give a lot of acting and showbiz references just because that's part of my life. But I hear somebody go, oh, are you still acting? No, I gave up. I just couldn't get an agent. Oh, that's why you didn't succeed as an actor, because you couldn't get an agent. No, the answer was, they didn't want to be a successful actor badly enough. Because if they did, they would not only still be doing it, but they would be figuring out why they're not succeeding. There's so many people in the show business world that every year doing the same stuff, as Einstein said, insanity, and why are you still doing the same thing? Clearly, what you've been doing for the last 10 years. That's not important. And that's what happened to me. And finally I said, I'm going to make my own movie and cast myself in the leading roles. And I'm going to do it by hook or by crook. And I failed about 7 times in 7 movies. Finally, this one that Bill had, he showed you, You Can't Kill Stephen King. It succeeded. I created my own opportunity because I couldn't get the opportunities through the traditional channels. My point is, you cannot give up if the why is strong enough. You have a quick question?
I disagree, because one step in the bad thing enough to do with it is very scary.
Exactly. And that's the thing. People are not honest with themselves. People lie to themselves and convince themselves that they are not lazy, when they are absolutely lazy. And I guarantee you, myself included, all of you are very lazy in some aspect of your life, and you've convinced yourself that you're really chugging along. And you're like, dude, you're not. The big impression I can give you a picture, is people who sit on the couch all day, and you ask them, oh, how's the job search coming? They go, oh, well, I haven't given up yet. But they're sitting on the couch. It's like, the logic is somehow wrong. They're right. They're completely right. They haven't given up yet. But they're not really doing what they need to be doing. So, everything today is going to be kind of focused on this question, why? So, I'll take a 2-minute interlude just to tell you some of the things that I have accomplished in my life. I've written and published 8 books, one of which is a Barnes & Noble bestseller. I wrote that with J. Conrad Levinson, who wrote an amazing book called Guerrilla Marketing. I became his protege. And, is that right? He's my mentor. I'm the protege?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm with the right group. And what's this book? That's called Guerrilla Networking. If you go to Amazon, just type in my name.
Sure.
Yeah, Guerrilla Marketing is the one that inspired me, and then I wrote with him Guerrilla Networking. But between you and me, I wrote the whole book and just put his name before mine. And
Because he had the name.
because he had the name. I had a great conversation with him about this, and he's like, look, Monroe, I want to take credit. I wrote, because Monroe, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm happy. I want to help you and support you. You can put your name first. I guarantee if you put mine, it'll sell 10 times as many copies. I put my ego to the side and did, and the book became a great nothing scientifically analyzing the career trajectories of these different people, and it's like I've done something very new. So very exciting. I was in Iraq for a year with the U.S. Army, and I'm an EMT. I'm a wilderness EMT. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I'm telling you that what I'm telling you here is not just a bunch of malarkey. It's what I practice, and my life is proof that this works. So if you listen to what I'm saying with an open mind, I promise you it'll help you in some facet of your life, no matter whether it's your personal life, your business life, your career, or just having fun and making music with kids. So the Break Divers Creed. I have it in Chinese on my arm. I think you can read it, right? Yes. Yeah?
No excuse.
Yes. So this is no rules, wu ju shu, mei jieko, wu po hui. That's no rules, no excuses, no regrets. I lived in China for the last year. I've always wanted to have my slogan put on my arm in Chinese. I never trusted anyone in the United States to do Chinese characters. And one day I was walking on the street in Shanghai and I passed a tattoo parlor and I thought, oh, my moment has arrived. And I spent about 5 months with about 29, 30 variations because the characters were always wrong. And I kept showing it to people, they go, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. But this is, those are right.
Yes.
Excellent. I'm waiting. Every time I ask a Chinese person, I'm thinking one of them is going to tell me, oh no. But I got enough validation. So what this means in English is no rules, no excuses, and no regrets. And that's what I call this Break Divers Creed. So in that first line, you can write down all three of them right now if you want. The first one, no rules. The second one, no excuses. The last one, no regrets. And I'll give you a brief background on what those three are, and then what we're going to do is do a little self-exercise, I guess. What do you call it when someone does an exercise on themselves? Individual exercise. But first, so why did I come up with these three things? And I came up with them because I felt that these are the three things that keep most people back. Kind of taking this but making it a little bit more tangible. The first one is no rules. I came up with this because years ago there was a magazine called Ross Report. If any of you are in show business, used to be actors, you know what Ross Report was.
No, but that's my name.
Ross?
Yeah.
I thought it was Bill.
Yeah.
Very confusing.
What?
What's that?
His last name.
Bill. Oh, Bill Ross.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I never heard of it.
Well, it's a good book. It's out of print now. They changed it now. I don't know why, but it was a book that had all the agents and casting directors' names, phone numbers, email addresses, and actually back in the day there was no email. It was just phone numbers and addresses. And on every page, under every single listing, in big bold capital letters, do not call. Do not visit. And back in the day, I can understand that. If you run a talent agency, you do not want every single actor who's new in town coming through your door going, I want to be a star, I want to be a star. But after a couple months, it didn't take me long to realize this isn't going to work. And I thought, wait a second. And everyone was telling me, don't phone, don't visit them, don't, you can't do it, those are the rules. I thought, but nobody's doing it. I mean, there's nobody stopping by. Which means if I do, they'll remember me. If I do phone them, I'm not going to be bothering them. Because no one else was bothering them. And it worked. And I was able to I walked in and I realized no one bite my head off, this and that. I was able to actually see the agents, talk to them, and I finally realized, wow, this is what I have to do with anything that I do in life. When I see all the paddlers paddling downstream, go upstream. And maybe it's a little harder because you got to paddle harder going upstream, but everyone's going to know. Look at that guy. Why is he doing it like that? I always caution people, you don't want to be the crazy person. You want to be the different person, the positively different person. The remarkable person is doing something amazing and unique and memorable, but memorable for the right reason. So the first thing is no rules. Think in your life about the things that you just do because society never a fan of this band NWA back in the day, and when I was a kid, I was so turned off by it. But their story is just like I saw the Justin Bieber movie. I don't like his music, but the story of have you ever Neverland or Never Ever Ever Never Say Never? It's an inspiring movie about overcoming odds. Same thing with the Straight Outta Compton, which I just saw today about this rap group. And my point is, I want you now to think. Think of all the rules that you follow blindly. Laws are another story. Let's leave laws out. Of course, we need to follow the laws and we need to change them. I'm not saying break the law to make a statement. But think about just, because I don't think that's even the problem. I don't think it's the laws that are holding any of you down, or me. It's our way of thinking and just tacitly being a lemon. And saying, oh, that's what everyone else is doing, I'm going to do it too. Or I have to do it too. So take a moment, take 3 or 4 minutes, and write down some under no rules. Did I give you this? Write down, or at least think. And if you want, you can talk with someone next to you. If you don't want to write it, I don't care. But get it out of your mind and on paper or out in the world. What are some of the rules that you follow that after you think about it, maybe I don't need to be following them? Assuming that no, you're not going to get in trouble. When I was in China, I was there for a year and I was teaching English actually. Had a great time. And the big thing that came up is they don't want to disappoint their parents. Right? That's a wonderful thing. And I get that. Who wants to disappoint their parents? Nobody here does either. But you have to ask yourself, why are you following that rule? If after you do a big analysis of it, you decide it is so important to me that I do not break this rule, that's fine. But you need to make sure you're not just blindly following the rule. And I told that to a lot of the students. I said, look, you don't have to disappoint your parents by coming to America for a year. You know, they can come visit you, this and that. And a lot of the students, and the two of them are coming to visit me in September and October, and before they would just not have done that because their parents didn't want them to leave. So, think about your life. What rules are you following that maybe you should reconsider? Begin. And I'm doing the same exercise right now. And if you're having trouble, I want you to think instead of a rule recently that you broke. So I know you've done that too, whether you realize it or not. My point is I want you to start recognizing, okay, that's a rule. Someone else created this rule. Does it apply to me, yes or no? If not, can I do something else that will get me to the same result without going to jail? And a lot of times I think people just give up because of the rules. Does anyone have any example they want to share? Of a rule they broke or a rule that they should reconsider breaking?
I can think of a silly one. At work, when I, where there's this
where these people in this type of thing wear sneakers. But then, when you think about it, no rules. They clearly don't care what we think. And who are we to tell them that they look stupid in their white sneakers with their suits? Maybe. They're probably happier than the people who are in the painful shoes. Anton, you were going to add something?
Well, I'm not supposed to say, but I mean, I was at a job where I pretty much wore polo shirts or collared shirts all the time because I figured it was office attire, and I often found myself out of clean collared shirts to wear, and I guess I just wore it because I had to. And I mean, I wore it when I went out into the field because my job required, but in the office, I mean, I did wear sneakers, but that's because they were more comfortable than my formal shoes.
Did anyone give you a problem?
No.
See, that's the big lesson here, is that we're all so worried about what other people are going to think. Or we're so worried about what we're going to think.
A lot of that comes from the conditioning from commercials. Commercials are always trying to sell us toothpaste and deodorant.
But that's exactly the example. These commercials are trying to create your rules. This is the coolest thing. You need to have this, and if you don't, you're not cool. And then you think, oh, well, everyone else is. The TV's telling me I need to. You need to go, no, no, no. I'm a unique individual. I need to make these decisions based on my life.
It's the worst in reverse. Like, ignore the garbage, like you were saying.
And in fact, I think that's the biggest problem that most people don't do, is they listen to the garbage. So you need to just think, you need to start tuning in to what is garbage and just saying that does not apply to me. So there's four of the things that I just threw up here that I broke the rules. I was a public defender for 2 years, and all of a sudden I came up with the idea that I don't want to do this anymore. I want to move to China and study Chinese and teach English. How many people do you think told me you're an idiot? I'm pretty much everybody. Dude, you're going to quit your job, but you're getting paid so well. You're going to be an English teacher? You're going to be the most overqualified English teacher you've ever had. And I was. Well, who cares? Screw the rules. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go to China. Change my clothes. When I came in here, I went in the bathroom, I changed my socks, changed my underwear, changed my t-shirt. And again, most people think, well, you're not supposed to sweat, or you know what? Just sweat. I'm going to bring some extra clothes so I don't have to start this thing sweating. On the subway, I was just sitting next to a girl, and I said, oh, hey, where are you going? She thought it was the craziest thing ever. I said, no, I'm just having a subway small talk. Isn't that the latest thing? And made her laugh, and next thing you know, she goes, all right, I'm going to 42nd Street. All right, but what are you doing at 42nd Street? Again, you're not supposed to talk to people in the subway. It's a terrible thing. By the way, people love to talk to you in the subway in China. Shanghai is fantastic. Maybe it's because I'm so different.
Yeah, because you're foreign.
If I were Chinese, they'd go, shut up. Leave me alone. That same thing, getting a tattoo. I didn't want to get one for so long because society shuns them, and they look gaudy, and maybe it's not good for business and stuff. But then I realized, you know what? If I get a job where I just planned it so that if I wear a long sleeve shirt and roll it up, so I broke the rules, but I can still comply with office policy if I'm at a legal job or something. The point is, just start thinking in that way. Break the rules, break the rules, break the rules, because the people that break the rules are the ones who stand out. If you want to play by the rules, you will be forgotten. In fact, you will never even get known. That's why I'm so intrigued by the Straight Outta Compton at NWA. Yeah, they talked about talking to police and getting shot in Compton, California. But you know what? They broke the rules, and they became successful as a result of that. I don't agree with everything they did, but the message is the idea that they did something that was completely different from what everyone else was doing. Number 2 on that list. So the first, you have no rules. Second is no excuses. I came up with this when I was in basic training with the Army. It was, anyone here have a military background? Yes? Maybe. Good, you sir. So perhaps, what is your name again?
Ed.
Ed. So perhaps went to bed like at 12 o'clock. So like 4 hours of sleep. Hadn't been sleeping, of course. You don't get much sleep. And I'm like, I do not want to go on this stupid march. And I'm marching. I have blisters on my feet. It's miserable. My back is killing me. And the drill sergeant is yelling, let's go. And I'm just trudging so slowly at this point. And finally, I said, you guys, the drill sergeant, I can't go any further. And he goes, yes, you can. No excuses. No excuses. You can do it. Keep going. I hated it. In my mind, I'm like, shut up. You're an idiot. What are you talking about? I'm ready to die. Stop putting it. But about 2 hours later, guess what happened?
Second wind?
No, second wind, I made it. Back to the barracks. I could not believe it. And I have never forgotten that lesson that our minds and our bodies are far stronger than we think they are. Than we think they are. And I learned from that lesson, I can do absolutely anything. No matter how badly it hurts, no matter how painful it is, no matter how mentally incompetent I may feel that I am in this particular endeavor, you're wrong. Completely and utterly wrong. And that helped me to realize this goes back to that why. Why didn't you finish the march? But I finished it because it was important enough to me. Because I didn't want to be the guy that did. Because I wanted to finish basic training. Because I wanted to prove to myself that I was strong. Same thing with life. Think about anything that you wanted to do. I want you to think back when you were a kid. Think about some of the things, the dreams that you had. I guarantee you that there's one dream you had as a kid that you haven't fulfilled. If you decided you didn't want to do it because you decided it wasn't important enough, fine. But I guarantee you there's something in your past that you want to do that you didn't do, and you came up with some lame, stupid excuse. And I can hear you give me a million objections. Well, no, you don't understand. I am such a terrible child. Or, no, I was so poor. Or, no, I said, I don't want to hear it. Just like that drill sergeant didn't want to hear me. I don't have no excuses. I don't care what your situation is. I've accomplished enough in life and overcome enough to know that what I'm telling you is the absolute truth. So whatever it is you want to do in life, if it's important to you, don't you dare come up with an excuse until you get there. If you decide that you do not want to do it, the only excuse I will take from an actor or somebody who's going after a dream and go, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you start your company? Or why didn't you continue with the company to make it successful? Why didn't you finish school? It wasn't important enough to me. If they say, oh, I had to take care of the kids, fuck you for blaming your kids. How dare you blame your children for you not finishing school? How dare you blame your divorce for whatever? For becoming an alcoholic. Yes, A led to B, but A did not have to lead to B. There was something in the middle, and that's called U. And use A as an excuse for B. I've seen a psychologist. I know what it's like to deal with grief, and I was in Iraq, and I've seen some bad things and stuff. Don't tell me that you don't understand, Monroe. I don't want to hear it. And as soon as you say that, you're proving to me exactly what I'm saying here. You don't really want to succeed. You want to believe that there's some outward excuse in the world for why you are not able to do it. And throughout your life, you will find people who will tell me that what I'm saying is wrong. I'm so sorry for those people. Because they have given up and they've become bitter. I know that we've all had, maybe most of us, I don't know, some type of heartbreak in life. And it could be from a person, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, or a dream. If somebody, and listen, no, I couldn't, she filed a restraining order against me, an order of protection. I had to give it up. It's not the order of protection that's why you gave them from contacting their loved one over and over and over again, getting repeatedly rearrested. Because their love was more important to them than getting rearrested for violating the order of protection. So my point is, don't give excuses because there's always an exception. That order of protection might keep you and I away from somebody, but that love is so important to you. You will violate that order of protection to get what you want. You will violate the do not phone, do not visit rule to go and speak with them.
Law.
Well, do not phone, don't visit, that's just a rule.
I know. The order of protection is law.
Yeah, I'm not advocating that. That's just the point to show you that it's always a trade-off. You're just deciding what's more important to you. Okay, nope, my clean criminal record is very important to me, and it's more important to me than the love for this person, despite the fact that I can't live without this person. But I'd rather live without this person outside prison than live without that person inside prison. And there are countless stories of people who somehow, beyond all odds, have somehow convinced their long-lost love to come back to them. And it's because they didn't give up. And I've heard stories like 15 years later, oh, I will never stop loving you. Oh, me too. I don't know how I came through this. And they get married, and I know we all wish we could have that magical love story, but what if it happens? And in some way they gave up, and they did not give up, and they decided that this love was important to them for them to wait. And if some people take 7 years to go to college, so be it. There are some people who drop out after a year. Finally, so I want you now to think about the second one. Think about your life. This one should be easier. What are some excuses that you have been telling yourself or telling others about something that you have been trying to do in the recent, let's say even the recent, heck, today? I guarantee you there's some excuse that has gone through your mind about something. If you can't think of today, think of last week, last year, last decade. And if you tell me you don't have any excuses in the last decade, you're a complete liar or you have amnesia. We all have some type of excuse. So just think on that for about a minute.
Need a towel or something?
Yeah, the back of the marker is doing okay. No excuses. You gotta improvise always. I want you to get as good at this as I am. I can list you. I just listed 4 excuses that I overcame recently. I can list 20 for you. You've got to become so good at it. You just realize, what am I talking about? Why am I coming up with this stupid, lame excuse that's just a justification for my laziness to find a solution? So no eraser. This is an easy one. Boom. Just use the back of this. You've got lots of things around you all the time that are solutions. I guarantee you someone else will go, oh my God, I don't have an eraser. Dude, I can't use my hand. I didn't use my hand. My hand's perfectly clean. I used the back of the marker. People always say they don't have time. Today's been a very busy day. Started at 9 o'clock down below Houston Street. And then I had something in the afternoon
maximize every single minute of your day. Again, I didn't have an agent. I created the movie. Going to China. At first, I just wanted to learn Chinese. I wanted to and I realized I don't have enough money to stay there for more than like a month. And I know a lot of other people who have just given up. I know a lot of people who have given up, and they say, I just got to stay at my job here. It's just so funny. It doesn't occur to people, go get a job there. It seems so obvious. And a lot of what I'm saying is like, well, of course, duh. I guarantee you, in your own life, you're going to miss the duh moments. Your mind is going to just emotionally push away the solutions. So you need to get your emotional side away and use that smart side to find the solution. Because your emotional side, I guarantee it, is going to help you find an excuse. Because our psyche does not want to feel bad. It doesn't want to feel criticized. It doesn't want to feel rejected. It doesn't want to feel scared or fearful. But guess what? Quitting my job and going to teach English in China, and I'd never been to Asia before, and I didn't speak Chinese at the time, very scary. But I am so glad I did, because his country is pretty awesome. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. And if you haven't visited there, it's just a magical, magical place. But I could have just said I don't have the money. Miss?
Is it possible to do something about the air conditioning? Something getting very hot in here.
I don't know. I don't know if you can open the door, or do you want to, I don't know if we can move the fan so it's more on you.
No, it's all right.
No? I think it's just because you're so hot.
I don't do well in heat.
Okay.
My son says move to Florida. I said you move to Florida.
And so the last thing about this is of this breakdown risk create. So no rules, no excuses. If you actually put that into practice, no rules, no excuses, the last part is no regrets. You won't have any regrets if you live a life of no rules and no excuses. You will never, ever look back and think, oh, I wish I had. Oh, if only I had known then. We all look back and realize that we've made some mistakes. It's inevitable. Now, we all have some regrets, but you can learn from all of those regrets and apply them to fix that problem. If you do have a regret now, if there's anything in your heart and your mind, you're like, oh, I wish I had always, then look at those first two and do it now. Oh, I've always wanted to be a helicopter pilot. Guess what? All it takes? Call up a helicopter school. And call them. And say, hi, can I take a first lesson? Costs $250, $300. Just take that first step. Don't worry about the rest. Just do that. When you get there, okay, good. I know it's going to cost about $20,000. How can I afford this? Have any of you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? A lot of people criticize it. I think and they criticize it for being too simplistic and this and that. I think it's these people coming up with the excuses that have problems with it. But I can summarize it in one thing that he talks about. He's a Japanese-American guy, lived in Hawaii. His father was the superintendent of schools. Somebody was a friend of the family or something, was a very wealthy investment developer guy. So his rich dad was the non-family dad person. The poor dad was his real dad. And his poor dad would always say, oh, we can't afford that. What did the rich dad always say?
Of course.
Yeah, of course, but it's a question he asked. Take that sentence. We can't afford that.
How can we afford that?
How can we afford that? It's so simple psychologically, and it seems like there's no, well, big deal, of course, duh. Well, no, not big deal, duh. It's the difference between the winners and the losers. The losers will just say, we can't afford that, it's not important enough for me to find a solution. It's more important to me to just keep playing by the rules and doing things the way I've been doing it, and I'm sorry, but we cannot break out of this bubble. Whereas that rich dad encouraged Robert Kiyosaki to say, wait, why do we have to be in this bubble? Is there a way that I can continue to feed my family while also going to school? Is there a way that we can do? How can we? The problem is, how can we? Is the answer going to be easy to do? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. Might be. But how important is it? It always goes back to the why. If it's important enough to you, you'll do whatever that hard task is to figure out how we can afford it. And that question could be anything. Well, how can I arrive on time? How can I do a good presentation? How can I be sure that I'm the #1 candidate for this job? How can I get my play on Broadway? How can I become fluent in a language that is no longer spoken?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is spoken.
We have Regino Communica. It's online and
Oh,
we
okay.
send things, and there's quite a few of us.
Cool. Well, great. See? She's not coming up with any excuses. If you really embrace that no rules, no excuses part, I promise you, your life from this point forward will not be filled with regret. There's the big thing that I think about a lot. On my deathbed, I do not want to say, I wish I had. And the key is, none of us are very close to the deathbed. Not even you. You're going to retire and you're going to have 20 years. So don't, I know you thought you were going to make it to this September, but you're looking good. The point is, but it could happen any day. We could all go outside and get hit by a bus. I just went to a movie. You could go in there and get shot by an Uzi. You could have a heart attack, any one of us. You hear all the stories all the time, but I don't smoke, I run all the time. Well, life is weird like that. So that's why I want to encourage you to stop thinking that your future and your deathbed and your retirement is so far away. Life is going by quickly. And we all know that the older we get, the faster it goes. However old you are now, imagine 10 years from now when add that to your age. And you're either going to take what I'm telling you and actually get some great things done in 10 years, or you're going to be still complaining about the same crap that you're complaining about now, or me. I have to remind myself about this stuff all the time too. It's not like I magically do it. I sometimes come up with excuses, and some of my friends go, dude, what are you talking about? No excuses. And I'm like, oh God, yeah, you're right, you're right. Everyone needs a reminder. So I'm trying to remind you of the dreams that you once had, or the dreams that you do have now that you think are somehow impossible, or the dreams you have for the future that you think you're never going to be in a position to even start. I'm telling you, baloney. If it's important enough to you, this why, you'll figure out a way to make it happen. So, I want you, what time is it now? It's 8:30. Great, we have some time. We're going to take a break. During the break, so it's a break, bathroom, water, whatever you need to do, for 10 minutes. But during this time, I want you to come back in and fill out, don't worry about the 1-month plan. The whole idea with to-do lists and planning is if you plan for tomorrow, based on tomorrow, you're going to be focusing on doing things that are not relevant for the long term. That's the whole idea with investing and stuff. Like, you've got to take 10% and put it in savings today before you pay your bills. You can't pay your bills and then put money in savings. You'll never have any money to put in savings. Start with your 5-year plan. I want you to think as big as you can. Forget what your parents told you. Forget what your friends have told you. Forget what you have told you. And listen to what I have told you. I'm a genie, and I'm sprinkling magic dust on all of you. Whatever you want to do will come true. So don't edit yourself. Even if it's become a multimillionaire, become more rich than Donald Trump. Because how weird, forget about politics, but how amazing, how amazing that this guy, he's a billionaire, and now he's running for president. I guarantee when he was 2 years old that he didn't think that was going to necessarily happen. It's weird. Things happen, and you can't explain how some things come to be. Barack Obama, first black president. I guarantee you he did not know that he was going to be president. Maybe he believed he could, maybe he didn't. But the point is, he did something that a lot of people thought was impossible. So stop thinking impossible, take your 10-minute break. I guess we can come back at like 43. But come back, write down where do you want to be and what do you want to have accomplished 5 years from today. August 20th, 21st, 20th, 2020. And I hope to see all of you after the break.
It got cold. What happened?
People that have these ideas, sometimes I hear people telling me that they don't like to write things down because they don't want it to be too firm. They want to keep things flexible. What is that?
Wimpiness?
An excuse. They don't want to write it down because as soon as they write it down, it means that they have an actual written record of something that they really, really want to do. And God forbid they don't do it, then they're going to feel terrible. And they don't want to feel terrible about themselves. It's human nature. It's a weird thing. We don't want to do things that are going to hurt us, emotionally and physically, but in order to succeed in life, you have to take risks and do things that might hurt you. So, write it down. How many of you, did any of you write down some things that you want to see in 5 years accomplished? Anyone? Yeah?
Yes.
Would you mind sharing one of the things that you like?
Well, for 1 month, find appropriate safe housing. 5-year plan, live in housing.
Awesome. Okay. So live in housing in 5 years.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, I hope to find it sooner over the course of the 5
Yeah,
years.
but remember when you're planning out long term, you want to first just think, in 5 years from now, just make a snapshot of where am I with my life. And you can break it down into different categories: finances, housing, family, career, health, weight, fitness, diet, whatever you want. Everyone's got their own things. Pick your categories and just figure out, in 5 years, where do I want to actually be? Look.
No, thank you.
No problem, no problem. If you create a to-do list that is based on where you want to be 5 years from now, it will be far more effective than if you just create a to-do list for what I need to do this week based on something that you think you want to be doing in 5 years. Write it down, put it on the wall. In 5 years, I am. Bump, 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 bump. And then you can work backwards. You don't have to do it just 5 years or 1 month. You can do 5 years. You can then break it down into 3 years, then bring it down into 1 year, then 6 months. But if you just work backwards, I guarantee you can create small enough steps so that you can create a to-do list for this month, and in particular tomorrow, that is chock full of little steps that are leading you to where you're going to be in 5 years. So sometimes I look at my to-do list. If you just look at it, it doesn't look like a lot. It may not make sense to somebody. Like, it looks like just a whole massive array of strange things that have no rhyme or reason. But every single one of them was created because I know from looking at where I'm going to be in 5 years or 10 years. I will never create a to-do list just based on what I want to do tonight or tomorrow. I do. Every night I create a to-do list, or every morning, depends. And even it is, what do I need to do today? It's not, what do I need to do today to put out the fires? Because we could waste all of our days and all of our hours just putting out fires. The key is, which of these things which of these fires do I not have to put out right now? Can I delay so that I can do what I need to do to get where I'm going to be in 5 years? You've got to sacrifice. You've got to sacrifice what you're doing today in order to get where you're going tomorrow. There is no, yes, there's balance, and you need to have balance or you burn out, but there is no, I'm not going to sacrifice now anything and magically going to get where I want to be in 5 years. It does happen, and it's called dumb luck. It does happen. But do any of us want to bank on that? I don't. I want to take control of my life as best as I can. You can't control everything, but try to control the things that you can. So take a moment now to take that 5-year plan and now think about, what do I need to do this month? What are the things I need to do this month? Not what do I have to do this month just in general, it's what do I have to do this month to get me where I'm going to be in 5 years. I'll give an example here. Ian and I were talking about book publishing. He owns a publishing company for fantasy books called fantasticbooks.net. .biz, fantasticbooks.biz. And as he knows, as anyone else who has written books, you can't just say, I'm gonna write a book. You can say it. What I'm saying is that it's impossible to just write a book. I can't just write a book. It can't just happen. Even if I have a typewriter, you can't just write a book. What I mean by that is, there are still steps that need to be taken in order for it to happen. You need to have a storyline, or if it's a nonfiction book, a table of contents. You need to write, you have to have an idea of what is it about? What's the summary, the back cover blurb?
Mission statement.
Mission statement for the book, exactly. Okay, then if you have that, you have to write a first paragraph. It's so funny, I hear so many people saying, I want to write a book, I don't know if I don't have the time, and it's like, you don't have 2 minutes to write the first paragraph? Well, what do you mean? Because that's the start of a book. But yeah, but it's only a paragraph. It's more a book than you've been talking about this book for 5 years. If you write a paragraph a week, guess what? In 5 years, you've got a book. Create steps that are going to get you. That's why sometimes you can't just put, what am I going to do tonight? Write a book. Not going to happen. But you can have a book published in 3 years and then work backwards. In 2 years, the final draft is sent off to agents. In 1 year, the first draft is complete. 6 months, I have got not only the entire outline done, but I've completed all my interviews for the book. In 2 months, I've created the complete outline for the book. In 1 month, I have come up with a title and written the back cover blurb. Wow, it's like 1 month. That's all you're doing is writing the back cover blurb and the table of contents. But guess what? It's probably more than you would do if you try to just say, I'm going to write a book. No one has ever written a book. It does not happen. You can't just, I'm going to write a book. And the few people that say I just sat down and wrote the book in one setting and it was a masterful piece of work, it's very few and far between. Does it happen? Sure. And if you sit down and start writing that first paragraph, you might be that person that finishes the book in one sitting. But it's not going to happen if you just keep saying, I want to write a book. So again, take a minute and come up with a plan for this month. What do you want to do this month? Think of the things that you wanted to do but that you haven't been doing, that you're scared of doing, that you're not sure about doing. And figure out, how do I do it? 1 month. 1 minute to come up with a 1 month plan. Does everybody have at least one thing they're going to do this month? All right, let's go around and share. I'll start. So this month I'm going to completely finish when I say this month, between now and September 20th, so 4 weeks. I'm going to finish chapter 4 of my dissertation for my PhD.
I'm going to try to physically reconnect with a friend I hadn't seen in 15 years that I did speak to Sunday and today.
Excellent.
I'm already on my track. I started learning Arabic with a teacher, and after I landing a job this month, I will start to get my pilot license.
Awesome.
Start learning a language that I want to learn.
I can hear you.
Start learning the language I want to learn.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm going to talk about languages in a moment.
Okay.
So we got some good tips. Yes.
Well, I'm going to get my hands on the retirement application and find out more about supplemental Medicare insurance. So
Excellent.
it's right there.
Cool. Anton?
Well, I was going to complete was going to finally get the book of my musical finished and hopefully stage or at least arrange a reading in the next few months.
Well, I don't want hopefully.
Yeah, well.
I don't want this, I want next few months. I want this month.
By this month, I hope to have the book of musical complete. My collaborators, I'm sure my collaborator is okay with it, because yes, and he doesn't need any more editing.
So tell us in a succinct sentence, what are you going to have accomplished at the end in 4 weeks?
At 4 weeks, I hope to have my the book of my musical and lyrics complete with no further revisions needed.
Okay, good. Yes?
Finished 2 of my lessons in my course.
As an instructor or as a student?
As a student.
You're getting your certification.
Yeah, so the Ayurvedic studies, yeah.
Okay.
I am going to look, I wrote a book. I wrote a whole book.
Awesome.
I finished it. And
In one sitting?
what, excuse me?
I said,
In one sitting? No, it took over a year to do that. A lot of people told me it would make a great movie, so I'm going to look for how to get that into production.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
I'm going to spend the next month researching private investments and understanding the market for private placements and get a sense of whether, what deals are getting done and what might be good investments.
Cool. Great. Sir?
I'm retired. I was just doing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. Something got in my way, so at the end of the month, those things are out of the way, and I'm going back to doing whatever I want.
Fantastic. Miss?
I tried to make a list of places and job positions I would like to work at and not settle for another job.
Okay. Good. I
Publish this book through the 5 proposals on my desk and finish writing my own next proposal.
Fantastic. Good.
I have to, check over the will and the trust we're setting up, and I've been procrastinating.
Okay.
But I need to do it this month.
This month. Next 4 weeks. Yes?
Yes, I'm a founding member on the United Nations NGO Health Committee. Our last meeting in June was on the difficult situations now in Central Africa, with the Central African Republic, and about 500,000 refugees in June from Niger and Chad, as well as the Central African Republic, now up to 1.5 million refugees. And some colleagues and peers from the UN Committee founded an organization called Voices Free Africa, which is in very preliminary phases. Probably by next spring we'll be having a small concert at Sakura Park. For this week, I go to an open mic night at one of the music stores not far from Madison Square Garden. My union dues for local 802 and 1000 are almost paid up now. So next Wednesday night I'll be doing some African folk songs, really sort of a practice small concert we have before the Sakura Park concert.
You're losing us.
And then for the next week,
This whole month. This month.
Yes. This is
Summarize. I know you've got a huge
Tonight.
schedule, and you're busy.
The last,
Okay.
next week is, the first week next week is the African music, folk music, and the following week for high-tech music I'll be giving a demonstration on a theremin. That's it.
Theremin. Is that the Beach Boys?
Right? Yeah, in the Good Vibrations.
Forbidden Planet.
You should have started with that. You would have had me at theremin.
Well, I had to.
Isn't it shows you it's about the audience, right? You never know what's going to get someone interested. But as soon as you sit there and be like, oh, because I was talking to my friends about what is that instrument that they use in Good Vibrations.
Everything's suggested.
Can you play it?
It's sort of like it is. Yeah, a little bit.
Super cool. Sir.
Well, me, just looking to find next career move.
Okay. Very cool. There's a wonderful book. If any of you are not sure what your next job should be, or you're not sure where your talents are, there's the what color is your parachute? But I don't like that book so much. It's the what color is your parachute workbook. It's 20 pages or 25 pages. Costs about $9 on Amazon. You'll have it in a day, and you spend about 9 or 10 hours. You do all these exercises, and it has you'll like it because it kind of uses math and charts to. And at the end, you have this thing called the flower diagram, and it shows you exactly what skills in what locale with these types of people doing this type of work for this type of money, and it's sort of like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So if you're having trouble, you don't know what it is, even if you think you do know what it is.
You just got to figure out with what company and where would be a good fit.
But that's what this would even help with that, because it helps you decide, do you want to be with a small company or big company, living in the mountains or living in the city, or living in, just a suggestion, if you want any additional help, that book has helped me so much in terms of figuring out what my next moves are always. So,
What was the name of it again?
What color is your parachute workbook?
Thank you.
I think, now she is a testament, look at that, it's amazing. No excuses, and I think that's just inspirational. She is writing, love it, love it.
She does better penmanship than I do.
I bet. And, sir?
Yeah, I'm going to develop ideas for a company they want to start.
Cool, fantastic. Now here's the thing, that's just one item. You need to have about 20 or 30 of those things on your list, because you can do a lot more than you think you are. You are lazy. And I'm telling you this not to criticize you, but to inspire you and kind of slap you aside the head so that you kind of realize that you can do a lot more than you think you can. There's a great quote, I want you guys to all to write it down or memorize it, by Mario Andretti, race car driver. If you feel like you're in control, you're not driving fast enough. And I think that summarizes a lot of what I'm saying, at least in terms of time management and getting things done. Too many people say, oh, I don't want to add anything to my plate because I have everything just so right now and I'm very comfortable. Comfortable is how countries get attacked. You know, comfortable is how people lose their job because someone else who's better comes along. So as soon as you get complacent, that's when things start to collapse. It's probably how Rome collapsed. They thought they were so great. It's kind of how our country is a lot of people think it's in decline now and it's not as great as it once was. You can argue either way, but the point is, you can't get complacent. So I started talking about complacence, but what was right before it? What jumped off under that? What were we talking about?
Mario Andretti's quote.
Oh,
Multiple things.
Thank you. Yeah, Mario Andretti's quote. Too many people say they need to slow down because they're starting to feel overwhelmed. When actually that's how you should feel. You should be comfortable with being outside of your comfort zone. You should be comfortable running a little bit faster than your last running time in the marathon. You shouldn't be running, you know I'm exactly right, you shouldn't be running at a speed where you're, oh, I'm not even out of breath. This is easy. You know, if you want to get cardiovascular improvement, you need to run faster than your body was trained last time. Each time you need to make sure that you're pushing yourself a little bit more. And so I urge you, you have a question?
Yeah, well with that, I have a hard time figuring out what's really a goal and what's an excuse. It's like, you know, you adjust for like all these factors, like maybe the course is really hilly, or maybe there's, you know, weird weather conditions and you're sweating and you can't run as fast. And it's like, it's hard for me to know like whether or not my goal is right. I'm just curious how you...
He makes a good point. There is a distinction between an explanation and an excuse. Like I said, sometimes things just happen in life. You go out running and your running time is slower because it was raining. Yeah, I mean, that's an explanation. But if somebody beats you who you normally can beat, and you say it's because of the rain, I think that's not the case. It's because you didn't train to run in the rain, apparently as hard as that other person did. So I understand what you're saying. You don't want to beat yourself up to the point where you feel like you're a failure. One of the things I have a book called Time Zen. It's all about, it's the shortest time management book ever written. It's about 97 pages, because if you had a problem with the time management, how can you read a book 300 and 400 pages? That's all I see on the bookshelf, 400 pages. And not one person who has time management problems has ever told me they finished those books. So I wrote the small book. People have still told me they can't finish. So, but I talk about the difference between strives and goals. And a goal is just an end result, and there's no time associated with it. This is my own personal thing, because I found that I would create goals. It actually started with acting. I'm going to have an acting agent by September 1st. And then suddenly September 1st comes around, and I don't have an acting agent, and I feel like a what? Total failure. So that's why I think setting goals is actually psychologically counterproductive, because what's the point of setting a goal if it makes you feel terrible and want to quit when you reach that deadline and you haven't reached the goal? Well, clearly that doesn't make any sense. So what I came up with is, what if I come up with something that's a flexible deadline? So instead of saying by September 1st, September 1st is what? It's about 2 weeks from now. So you say, I'm going to have an agent in 2 weeks. Then when I wake up tomorrow, can I say the exact same thing? I'm going to have an acting agent in 2 weeks. And 7 weeks from now, I can say, I'm going to have an acting agent in 2 weeks. The idea is you have to create something where you actually feel urgency to do something, but the deadline will never approach. So I came up with this, and it's helped me tremendously, because it's always like, I'm going to finish, I don't say I'm going to finish chapter 4. Notice I didn't say I'm going to finish chapter 4 of my PhD by September 20th. I said I'm going to finish it in 1 month. I may finish it in 2 weeks, in which case, great. I may finish it in 6 weeks. Great. But that deadline is there to just give me a focus. But it doesn't, so I kind of feel like that maybe if somehow, I don't know how it'll apply necessarily to running, but try to think of running in terms of I'm striving to do this. It's a strive, and I just feel like the idea of a strive is something you're striving for. You may not get there, but it's an admirable thing to go for. And you can't kid yourself. You still need to actually work very hard. That's why you need to create a deadline that's still forceful. Like if you say, what's your current running time? Just is there an average or?
You know, for a 1 mile after like race, let's say 6:30, 60 minutes and 30 seconds.
All right, 6:30. So if you say I strive to get my running time down to 6:20 in 2 years. Oh, come on, that's so lazy. You're giving yourself so much time, and that gives you time to go on vacation for 6 months. But if you say I'm going to get my running time down, I strive to get my running down to 6-minute mile in 4 or 5 weeks, you might actually get there, and if not, you'll get far closer than you would have if you created some more grandiose plan with giving you such a large time. I call it ×2 in tomorrow. Whatever your goal is, or strive, multiply it ×2 in tomorrow. So if you want, the example with acting, if you want to be a working actor, you need to strive, the working actor before you die, you need to strive to become a movie star in 5 years. If you strive to become a movie star in 5 years, you may end up becoming a working actor before you die. And you've heard that, shoot for the stars, you may hit the moon. It's completely true. We lose power as we start going towards whatever it is we're going. And there's Clausewitz, guy's name, Clausewitz said, no plan survives contact with the first, with the enemy. So you could create whatever plan you have, you're going to slow down. Something's going to happen. And you should plan for that. So then plan, okay, I'm going to strive to do even more in less time, but don't pick a specific date. Think about that too, like if you have a wedding, planning a wedding. Oh, we're going to get married on January 1st of next year. People don't, things are going to possibly happen. Instead, just figure out when is January 1st from now. September. So October, what's the name? September, October, November, 4.5 months. Far better for your psyche to say, we're going to get married in 4.5 months. The planning is exactly the same. And it seems like it's not a big deal. But I promise you, you will get just as much, if not more, done. And what you actually should do is we're going to get married in 2 months. Because that you're never really going to slow down. Mike Fennell produced Gremlins. I don't know if you remember that movie way back when. He was, it's a great movie. I met him like 10 years ago when I was trying to produce this other movie. And I was creating the budget for it and the production schedule. And he said, look, and I wanted him to look at it. He goes, look, I'm going to save you some time and effort. I'm not going to look at either of them. I'm going to tell you whatever the budget amount is, double it. However long you think it's going to shoot it, double it. And that applies to life. My PhD has taken probably twice as long as I thought it was going to take. My point is, if you can plan, that's why you should shoot. If you want to finish it in 5 years, how long should you shoot for?
10 years.
2.5. Shoot for half the time because it's going to take you longer. And all of you are smiling because you know I'm telling you the exact truth. Things do not happen on the timeline that we plan because life gets in the way. So how about plan for life getting in the way in a way that doesn't trick you? You're not lying to yourself. You're not saying I'm going to get married on October 1st. You're saying I'm going to get married on in 2 months. It's going to take longer. It's going to take longer. So, okay. I'm going to touch on just these 3 other topics for about 10 minutes, and then I'll open it up to any questions you have for the last 10, 15 minutes. So I told you in the email that I would talk about 3 subsets of breakdiving. There are 1.5 million subsets of breakdiving. Whatever the heck you're doing in life is breakdiving. So these are just 3 that I thought that some of you guys might be interested in. The first is learning multiple languages. And I speak French very, very well. I speak Italian at an intermediate level. I speak Chinese. I passed HSK4. I don't know if you know the Chinese test. They have Hanyu Shui Ping Kao Shi.
Oh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and they have 6 levels. The 6 is the highest. I passed 4 after studying Chinese for just a year, and everyone thought that was pretty amazing. And so I'm studying for 5 now. And I'm learning Russian with a book that teaches in Chinese. So I bought this book in Shanghai, and it's all in Chinese, and it's teaching me Russian. And it's how cool it is to be able to learn Russian by studying with a Chinese book, because you learn 2 languages at once. And I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what my recommendation is for learning languages, because I really think I'm on track to be able to say I can have active, day-to-day normal conversations with people in 10 different languages, probably in the next 5 years. And it's been my life's dream to be able to say that. I'm getting close. I have about 4.5 languages there. And every language you learn gets easier and easier. So the first question is, anybody here speak, I know that you do. Anyone else studying foreign languages? You speak English. It's your second language, of course. Yes?
Hebrew and Tagalog.
Hebrew and Tagalog.
Vietnamese, French, and Thai.
Are you Vietnamese?
Vietnamese.
Vietnamese. Do they speak French in Vietnam at all?
They used to. Yeah, not as much anymore.
I know that they use the French alphabet, right? Sort of?
Mm-hmm. Well, the French brought the
alphabet
to Vietnam.
Got it.
once called French Indochina
See?
back then.
Fascinating. How about you? Do you speak other
Well,
languages?
I've studied a number of languages. I've studied Hebrew, I've studied French. I seem to have picked up a bit of Japanese over time. I am fascinated with it,
Yeah.
and I really never put much time or effort into it otherwise.
Okay. How about, you said that you wanted to study a new language?
Well, I mean, I did study, and I've been studying a little bit on Duolingo, Spanish, and
Okay,
I'd
which is
like
a good
to,
app, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw on the podcast about Chinese, learning
Pinyin.
Pinyin
Yeah.
was the first part, yeah.
Cool. Great. Did I see another hand?
German.
German. Great. Anyone else?
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
It's like one of my friends told me English is going to be the lingua franca in the next 50 years. So he's told me that I should focus on perfecting my English instead of learning other language.
For you, for non-Americans or non-English native speakers, that's probably a good idea. And I think you speak English very well now, fluently. I would say, of course, continue to, our vocabulary is huge, and you can always, I'm still learning new words, and you're right, it's becoming, it is becoming the business language, it's becoming the lingua franca, yes. But I still think that people who don't learn other languages, I think, are not as cultured. And I'm not criticizing any of you that don't speak foreign languages. I just think it makes somebody super, super cool. Especially if you don't have to learn them. Everyone's telling me, why are you learning Chinese? It's one of the hardest languages, if not the hardest language to learn.
Wasn't hard for him.
No, that's not true. Every Chinese student actually spends more than 15 years to learn Chinese.
Wow.
And that also including Asian Chinese language.
What does that mean?
It's like Asian Chinese language is how Chinese people speak and write in 1,000 years ago.
No, you said Chinese, do you mean, ancient, okay. Do you mean like, do you mean Mandarin or Cantonese or what?
I'm just talking about the writings. The writing is basically the same for all of the different. That's one thing I learned in China. I don't know if any of you know this. Every TV show has the Chinese character subtitles. No matter where you are in China, they always have subtitles. And the reason is there are so many different dialects. They're basically different languages, but the characters are exactly the same. So you can, somebody from northern China can read the exact same thing as someone from southern China, but they try to speak to each other in their native, it's completely different language. So the writing is still the same. But see, isn't this fascinating? That's what I think. It's like it makes you cool when you meet foreigners. Anytime I meet somebody from France and they find out I speak French, or Italy, I speak a little bit of Turkish, I speak a little bit of Bulgarian, I speak a little bit of Russian now, I speak a little bit, probably like 20 languages I can say something to make the native go, oh, you speak? And I go, ah. So I mean, even if you just learn a few phrases, it makes it easy to socialize. And you just find a different, oh, really, can I say a few words in your language? A lot of times they're like, and when I was in China, in his native land, very rare is Shanghai is very cosmopolitan, very international, a lot of foreigners. Very few of them speak Chinese. And there are some of them, but I'd say 9 out of 10 of the whites, the blacks, the Indians, they don't speak much. So when I actually can have a conversation with them, instant friendship. So that's my pitch for why I think it's still relevant even now. Also, it prevents Alzheimer's. They've shown that studying a language fires the brain in so many different ways, because you're using visual, you're using auditory, you're using memory. So I'm going to keep studying them because my dad has Alzheimer's, and it's funny, it's sad, it's debilitating, and it's annoying. And it's like, he wakes up, he's like, where am I? He's 94, he's a World War II vet.
Wow. What data?
China, Burma, India. They spent a lot of time there. If you do like to study foreign languages, the first thing you need to do, and you want to learn multiple ones, as soon as you can, stop using English as the language you're learning to study the second language. Because if you can learn basic French, then you can get a book in French teaching you the second language that's going to reinforce all the basic French stuff that you're learning. Then once you get very good in that third language, you buy a book in that language that's going to teach you the third one. That's the big step. You will not be able to learn lots of languages if you keep using English. Because you have to refresh them. You're going to forget quickly. But if you, that's why Duolingo is a nice app. You can learn like German using French. You can learn Dutch by learning German. It doesn't have all the languages yet, but if you have a base in one language, you get to study two languages at the same time.
It's called Duolingo?
Duolingo.
D-U-O-L-I-N-G-O?
L-I-N-G-U-O, I think?
I think it's D-U-O-L-I-N-G-O.
That's it, Duolingo. Yes.
D-U-O.
Some other amazing, the other thing I'll tell you is do not rely on one system. When I hear that, oh, I'm studying this using Living Language, or I'm studying Russian using Pimsleur, or I'm studying using Rosetta Stone, I'm like, you're never going to get there. Every single one of them has their faults.
Rosetta Stone too?
All of them. All of them. Every single one of them. I don't like Rosetta Stone in particular because they try to teach us how we learn language as a baby, but we're not babies. And we have English as a base.
I've got to tell you something. I was at Hunter College studying Spanish because before I could study Latino, they had me study Spanish. And Hunter had a program called Destinos. It was a novella type.
30-second
Mexican novella, and we had workbooks and everything. And it was like you were a little kid. I learned more Spanish that way, watching the things, doing the book and the workbook, than I did just with the workbook.
I don't disagree with you. And everyone, all I'm telling you is don't rely on anyone. Even if you found one you think it is amazing. Some of them are not going to be able to explain the grammar concept. Some of them will explain this grammar concept well, but this one will be completely lost. For every language, I've got about 6 or 7 different books and methods. Some for like 7 or 8. And if I don't understand the grammar explanation in this book, okay, forget that book. I'll go to this other book to learn that. The other thing is, the next step is once you get to the point where you're at an intermediate level, you have to start just voraciously listening to audiobooks in that language. Podcasts are fun, but the reason why I like audiobooks is if you can read, you can actually buy the book and also listen to the audible, and you can go back and forth. But that will take you that will get you to the actual fluency. And you need to just keep listening to the audiobook. I listen to the same, in French, I listen to Three Musketeers over and over again. And it's long, it's like 48 hours. And every time, I get more and more and more. And I'm just going to keep on listening to that until I get 95%. Because I think if you can understand 95% of an audiobook, you're set. And finally, the last thing is you need to speak it, and a lot. I started a meetup group. It's called the Fluency Project. If you like languages and want to come to the events, you can go to meetup.com/thefluencyproject, and we'd love to have you. But my point is,
Do they do specific languages or?
right now I'm working on a way to do more. Right now it's French, German, Italian, Chinese, and those 4. And I'm keeping a list of the people who are coming. Like a lot of people want to do Japanese and Russian. And once I figure out the format, I'll do these other languages that I'm not really in a position to be a part of yet because I don't speak them well enough. So check that out. I'll say just a quick word on traveling the world inexpensively. If there's somewhere that you want to go, it's very simple. Figure out a way to do it. So many people say it costs so much money to travel. It doesn't. I stay in hostels, and they are so clean now. You go onto the hostel.com and they give these reviews. I stay for $10 a night, and their showers. I meet amazing friends and other travelers, things like that. And if worse comes to worse, quit your job and do what I did and go live in one of these countries and teach English. For those of you who speak English as a native language. you can go see the world. And I hate when I hear that people tell me, oh, you're so lucky, you've been to all these wonderful places. And it's like, I'm not lucky, I did a lot of work. I quit my job, I took chances, I saved up money, I found jobs over there. So if you do want to travel, I promise you there are inexpensive. There's this one guy, I just read a quick story about him, that he quit his job, and for the last 4 years, all he does is fly around. Did you guys read this story? You read about that? And apparently, he doesn't pay for any of it. He gets all of these points. He said he got a $20,000 like flight going from here to like Abu Dhabi. A Lamborghini picked him up, and he doesn't pay for any of it. He's figured out how to beat the system.
And the airlines hate him. I just read about that last week on the Google News.
But he doesn't care, right? He's using, it's like sort of like the people who use the tax loophole. It's like, look, they're not breaking the law, they're using the crappy tax system that we have to make things better for them. Hey, if you want to change it, change the rules, IRS. And same thing, my airlines. The point is, you can do it. So if you want to go somewhere, and this year, go there. A lot of times, here's the secret. Just buy the ticket. Don't plan anything else. I'm going to China in November. I haven't planned anything except I'm going from November 12th to November 22nd. I don't have the visa. I don't know where I'm staying, which hotel. I haven't asked half time for work. I will figure that out. But buy the ticket. Once you buy that ticket, all of a sudden, like I said, take that first step, and things will start to roll. Finally, pursuing your dream career. This is just a summary of what we said. You're not too old, it's not too late. Whatever it is that you want to do, I say just do it. And I would love for all of you to tell me in 5 years, guess what, I did it. I did listen to what you said, and I quit my job, or I got promoted, or I wrote the book, or I made the movie, I started the organization, I created the charity, I won the New York City Marathon. Yes. Whatever it may be. But I really know that you can do that. And I don't want to sound like I'm babying you or anything like that, but this world gives too much naysaying. So I'm trying to counter that by telling you you can do it. I'm looking all of you in your eyes, telling you that I know that you can. And I know that you're telling me in response, I know you can do your dreams too, Monroe. And I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am?
You mentioned winning the New York City Marathon. For several years, working with the World Health Organization and committees, I've done Power Walk the marathon on behalf of global senior rights. I was wondering if my goal could maybe be going from 12 hours to 11 hours in Power Walking.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I think you can do it. So before we conclude, I don't mind going over a few minutes. Do you guys have any questions? Oh, this is my phone number, my cell phone. If you have any questions, you want to keep in touch. My email address is right there, findingsummer@AOL. I'm going to pass around this hat, and you can...
I saw on your thing that, you do have you would meet up, break diving.
Oh yeah, and I have a meetup group called Break Diving if you want to be a part of it.
They do?
Yes, it's meetup.com/breakdiving.
No, I didn't meet up. I just never heard of it.
Oh, well, now you do. I'm going to pass this around. I have an email list of about 3,000 people. I send out inspiring messages and things about what's going on. And if you'd like, no obligation, just put your email and your first name and press join. And pass it to the next person. Break diving, yeah. Meetup.com/breakdiving. Finding summer, like I'm looking for summer. Finding summer@AOL.com. And I think I have a Wisant is like a tutoring coaching site that I use. If any of you are interested and you want to speak with me further and want like specific help putting together a plan for your life or your career, your projects or investing or whatnot,
What comes after?
WYZANT. I don't know why I didn't think of this before.
You're breaking a rule.
That's right.
Wyzan.com.
Tutors/unstoppable. If you guys have something that you could offer people, Chinese lessons or piano lessons or just some type of coaching, and you can sign up here. It's a really wonderful site, and they handle the payment for you. You never have to ask a client for payment. It's like when you meet with them, boom, they'll get charged. And you get the checks every 2 weeks or a direct deposit. They give you marketing tools. And I used to do it all myself and have my own website. And I found this while I was in China. And so when I get home, I'm just going to use it. And it's been really great. The students can rate you 1 to 5 stars. They can write reviews. And now I'll just get people just, and it's cool. You have to take a test to prove that you can teach what you're doing. So they don't just let anybody. The tests are not incredibly hard, but I think it's to make sure that the.
You teach what? English?
Whatever. You can teach English, piano lessons, dancing, karate.
What about a special ed specialist?
And they have literally, if you can teach it, it's probably available on there. So if you want to make some money on the side, will it take a little bit to build up the business? Sure. This is not a full-time thing for me, but it pays my cell phone bill. It pays for my food for the month, and it's like, hey, that's great. And I do what I love, and I help people. So, great site, and if you want any of my help, you can go check that out. You can just check out my page also, just to see exactly what it looks like when you create your own, if you want to do something something similar. Questions about anything? Like, we'll go to him first and back to you.
What's been your favorite place that you've been to around the world, and why?
I have to say, I have to pick a country, I have to pick a plane.
Your call.
Your call. This last year in China was amazing. It's such an awesome time. And I finally got to see, I visited South Korea, I visited Tokyo, Japan, and I visited Mongolia. And my year in China as a whole was just amazing, I think, because over in the West, all we see are pictures of Asia. And before I went there, I knew it was there. It's like, it's so far away, it's so foreign. Now I feel like I'm Asian. And I feel like I'm at home. And I know this, I feel at home when I see these 2 Asian guys in here. And it's like, I can't wait to go back there and speak Chinese and just be around. There's something about the Asian culture that's very appealing. So I just really had a wonderful time there. I will say, strangely enough, that the year in Iraq with the Army was one of the best years of my life, too. It was scary, but I made some great friends there, and it was an adventure. I mean, it was something that's indescribable, and I'm proud that I went there and did whatever I did. And I hope I can go back there one day and and see those my.
Paying perhaps 2 or 3
No, I mean, how many